Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how Live handles the importing of audio and video files and MIDI files, and it's actually very simple. So to begin with, I'm going to go to my arrangement view by pressing the Tab key, and there you go. Over here in my browser, I can look at different sounds or samples, different instruments, things like that. And I can go to Places and find individual files that I want to use. Now I'm going to show you first how to add a folder to this Places sidebar. I'm going to click Add Folder, and this box pops up. And in this case, I'm going to add my desktop because I have some samples on my desktop that I want to use for this demonstration. I'm going to click Open, and the desktop appears in the sidebar. Now notice that there's nothing in there right away. It takes a second to populate that list, and if you have a large sample library with like many thousands of files, it might take a few minutes to scan through all those and add them to the list. But here we have the ones I want. We have an audio file called Amygdala 88. We have a MIDI file called Cymatics Lo-Fi MIDI, and we have a movie file called Letterman. So first I'm going to drag the audio file in, this Amygdala file, and when I click on it, it gives me a little preview right down here. If I don't want to hear that preview, I can click that off with these headphones and it will not preview it. But in general, I keep that on. To stop the preview, I just press the space bar. Now, I'm going to drag this into the middle here, and my aim is one of these two audio tracks, or the track in the middle here where it says drop files and devices here. If I drag it there, it will create a third audio track, which is also fine. So I'm going to drag this in, and notice how it's gray. If I want it to be like solidified and in the arrangement view, I'm going to click this orange back to arrangement button, and it's in there. I can move this around. I can press Command D to duplicate it. And if I hover over it, you'll notice it has these little handles. Those are fades, and we're going to cover more about that later on. If I double click on the clip, the audio editor pops up at the bottom. This editor is resizable, so you can click and drag on the border, and it can show you every instance of this clip. Now here I have some editing controls, so if I want this loop to start maybe at bar 2, I move my play start arrow there, and you can see, I don't know if you noticed this moving, but this also changed. I would of course move my loop bracket there as well. And now when I play this up here in the main transport, it'll start on bar 2 of this loop before going on. Like I said, you can edit the audio here. You can do a bunch of other things. You can transpose it. So if I want this clip to go down an octave, it's just that simple. If I want to lower the volume of just this one audio clip, I can do that right here. And you'll notice that up here in the arrangement window, this clip is now much smaller than this clip. That's because I've lowered it by a little over 8 decibels. And I can do a bunch of other things that we're going to get into in later videos, but that is the basics of how to trim and transpose a loop. Now, if you wanted to cut the loop, you have to do that a little bit differently. I'm going to drop my cursor right in here, and you can see that it's right in the middle now, and I'm going to go to Edit, Split, which is also Command E, and now it's in 2 clips, and I can drag that out, and I can edit, put it back, I can drag this around, I can do whatever I want to it. But editing in Live is a little bit different than in a standard nonlinear editor like Logic or Pro Tools. You have to think it through a little more, exactly what you want to do and how you would use different instances of a clip to achieve your goals. Okay, next let's check out this MIDI file. So I'm going to again aim for one of the MIDI tracks, or if I dragged it down here, it would just create a new MIDI track. And right there, Import tempo and time signature data into the arrangement. Why not? Now you can see it's changed our tempo to 88 beats per minute. That will actually warp this audio as well. You can see that they're lined up kind of on the grid. And I'm going to turn this audio track off by muting it by pressing the yellow button there. Now this cymatics loop here is not playing through anything at the moment. We need to load an instrument onto this track for it to play. So I'm going to go to my Sounds tab, and I'm going to choose one of these synth keys. I can see that it has some chords here. Might sound good with some keys. So let's get an analog clavinet. And we're going to load that up. Now down at the bottom here, you can see the actual instrument. This is an instance of wavetable. Up here now we have a volume control, and I'm going to turn this down, anticipating that it may be loud. And then we can play it from the beginning. Pretty cool. If we want to get a different sound, we can simply choose a different instrument. How about 1999 organ synth? I'm going to double click that. And now we have a different instrument down here. This is the poly instrument. I like that even better. So in the MIDI clip here, you can see that we have the MIDI editor. If I click on the clip, and we can actually edit that directly. We can move notes up and down. We can move their timing. We can do whatever we want. We can add new notes by just clicking, or if I use the pencil tool, I can draw in notes. Okay. We can do whatever we want with this MIDI clip. It works just like MIDI in any other program. If I click on the track header, double click, it will show me the device. And if you remember, I told you that tab switches between arrangement view and session view. If I hold shift and click tab, it switches between device view and clip detail view. In this case, it's a MIDI clip, and there's the MIDI device, the instrument. If I do that with an audio track, it will go between the audio editor and the device view. Now we don't have any devices on here, but if I add one, if I go to audio effects and add, for instance, an EQ, then I can see that EQ there and maybe put a filter on it here. And if I press shift tab, it will go back and forth between the two main windows at the bottom, the device view and the clip detail view. Last but not least, we're going to load a movie file. So movies are handled a little bit differently in Ableton than in some other programs. First of all, they only work in the arrangement view. You can't really drag a movie file into a clip slot in the session view. And they're a little more limited than what you can do with audio and MIDI, of course. So I'm going to take this Letterman movie and I'm going to drag it here where it says drop files and devices here. And it automatically makes a video track. And a video window pops up. And you can see it moving there. Interestingly, I can use the transpose button to slow that movie down or speed it up. In later videos, I'm going to show you how to manipulate MIDI and audio even further in Ableton Live.